Hi, my name is Jimmy Williams with NFL Draft Diamonds, and I have another diamond in the rough for you guys today. His name is Chris Coleman. He's a wide receiver at a Cal Poly. Nice to meet you, sir.
How we doing?
Doing all right, man. It's Friday. I mean, we got a couple weeks until this draft, which is very exciting, and then of course, getting to meet guys like you who gonna have that opportunity here soon to get into the pros and make a name for themselves. So.
Man, you talk
Um,
about somebody excited. I'm definitely excited.
Right.
Definitely.
So, Chris, kind of set the stage a little bit, if you don't mind. Tell me where you're from and walk me through your journey a bit.
Yeah, so I'm from Bakersfield, California, in the Central Valley. For those that don't know, in between, would you say Sacramento and Los Angeles? And as a young child, I did gymnastics from the time that I could walk to about 9 years old. My dad put me in judo. I played baseball. Um, and then I got into little league football, and then from little league football I just kind of found my love, and from that point on I just stuck with football. I couldn't think of anything else. So then I ended up going to West High Bakersfield, and freshman year they asked like, hey, who's played quarterback before? And I look at myself as an athlete, and my dad is a pitcher, so he's big into baseball, so he's big into throwing mechanics, so we always threw the football. And so I just raised my hand like, hey, I play quarterback. And that was the last time that I was able to not play anything else. I played quarterback from that point all the way to my junior year. Really tried to lock in on the position. As I started getting older, I started seeing kind of more of my body type and what positions naturally fitted me more. So in that case, I ended up choosing to transfer out to go to another school that had a quarterback more so solidified, and that was his role, because at the school that I was at, they kind of started building the offense around me to the point where it was like, hey, we kind of need you at quarterback now. There's no other position for you at this school. So I ended up talking to my head coach, and he totally understood, and he allowed me to go to Garces Memorial, which is where I graduated at, which is where I got recruited by a couple teams: Montana State, San Jose State, Fresno State. I took a liking to Fresno State through Scott Thompson, who was there. It was his first year there from USC. He was a special teams coordinator at USC that year, and they brought me in as an athlete back to square one of what I originally thought I was anyway. So I first touched down at Fresno State, and I was on the defensive side. Ended up making a couple plays, and they called me in on a really late night. Coach Tedford called me in on a really late night, which was the head coach at that time, or actually still the head coach now. He had stepped down for a heart condition, and they asked me to come to offense, which is I was ecstatic about because I love offense. Like that's what I always saw myself playing, but a lot of people saw me playing a different position. But I always saw myself catching the ball and being a receiver. So in a nutshell, that's kind of how I got to here. I ended up graduating from Fresno State in criminology, and I'm about, what'd you say, 8 units away from getting my master's at Cal Poly in political science. So I would say everything kind of worked out as planned.
Cool. So, again, just kind of want to backtrack a little bit just to recap. I mean, again, Bakersfield, um, you know, played mostly quarterback for a long freaking time. Obviously, an athlete. Um, Went to another high school where he had played some other positions. And the idea was maybe being a defensive back, but I mean, you ultimately are a wide receiver. Obviously, I introduced you as a wide receiver. People that have seen you over the past several years in college know you as a wide receiver. So that's obviously what you got in yourself. But also want to just kind of touch briefly on some of the things that you started out with, which I thought were very interesting. You said you did gymnastics and judo and things like that, which I think are fun.
Oh
Um,
yeah. I led the 11 Western States at 7. It was to the point kind of where I was too young to move up in age groups, but the competition that I was at was in where I was per se. And yeah, so I did gymnastics almost from the time that I could walk to about 9 years old when I started football.
so,
And
so what type of gymnastics are we talking about? Because I mean, I know there's different, Like
No, we're talking Olympic style gymnastics. You got floor, vault, uh, rings, pommel horse. We're talking.
and you did all that.
I did all of that. Yes, sir. I did all of that.
Well,
I
nice, man. That's definitely
it's
interesting.
Yeah, it's different. Do you there's not a lot of guys that, especially going from gymnastics, that's such an individualized but team sport at the same time. It's only team when you bring everybody's score together, but it's truly based on what you do. So there's not very many guys that, did gymnastics, especially, let's just be real, especially with my ethnicity. That's just not a normal kind of thing. But I'm super glad that I was able to do that. I feel like that's given me the control over my body for so long that I never had that weird stage where like I couldn't control myself. I was always very much in control of what I wanted to do with my body. And honestly, I'd say it's super like injury preventative. Like I've never had a hamstring pull or something like that you
Knock
would
on
generally
wood.
knock on wood. No, we're knocking on
I
wood. We're
know.
definitely stretching. We're definitely stretching and still doing everything. But yeah. And then
Well, go ahead.
judo I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Judo just kind of helped me get more physical with football. When I first got in, I was a little bit timid. Like I understood it, but I didn't really understand the contact aspect about it. Or so I guess we'll just leave it at that. I didn't understand the contact aspect about it. So putting me in judo, put me up against different people that were a lot bigger than me, some same size as me, and it helped me get over that mental aspect of like, everybody laces their shoes up the same. So
Yeah, and I mean, let's just face it, man. I mean, obviously, you're not that big of a guy, which is
no,
part of the reason why, like, a lot of people would say, "Hey, maybe this guy ain't, fit to be a quarterback." Although nowadays, I mean, hell, I mean, there are guys your size, playing the game even at the professional level, which is bizarre, but I mean, it does happen. Yeah, I mean, dude, you're an athlete. Maybe I'm just speculating, but maybe you could have pursued either one of those two sports, but you ultimately chose football. What about the game of football do you love the most?
man, I I don't, I get asked that all the time, and I think about it like, man, maybe I should have did baseball. Like, I love the sport of football. I love what it can do for me. I love the contact of the game, but not so much the contact. I guess in a way, kind of making guys miss, avoiding contact, and putting my body in different positions. And I love the heart rate acceleration that I get from right before the game starts, and the adrenaline rush that I feel. And I love, making a play that I wasn't necessarily supposed to make, but you end up finding a way and you make a play. It's the ultimate sport with dealing with adversity. And as I've gotten older, I see like a lot of people actually struggle with adversity, and I've come to realize that football puts you in adverse situations so often that when you get put in an adverse situation in regular life, you don't see it as adversity, but everybody else sees it as adversity, but you just see it as like another obstacle you have to get over, like every day of practice.
Yeah, and again, I think like you were also saying, I mean, really just the excitement of having the ball in your hand, being the playmaker that you are, which again, I mean, I feel like some of that is like it stems from you being a quarterback. I mean, having the ball in your hands all the time. And then of course, I know it sounds kind of silly for some people because I mean the contact issue. I mean, as a person with the ball in your hands, you don't want to have that contact. I mean,
Oh, not at all.
you want to be able to blaze past people and score points. So that's that's a fair thing to say. So
Yeah,
um,
I enjoy making people miss. Like I enjoy
right.
to solve the puzzle of of getting to the first down.
So let's talk about you as a wide receiver. I mean, obviously you had started your time there at Fresno State, and then eventually found your way to Cal Poly. When you look at those two offenses, can you maybe just describe a little bit, perhaps their differences, but overall, just kind of how you were utilizing both of them?
Yeah, so just straight up, at Fresno State, starting off, I was more so of an inside slot receiver. Kirby Warren was my receivers coach there, and I had always kind of expressed like I want to be outside. Like I want to do releases on corners and then get on the route instead of, free releasing and then having to make a move in the middle of the route. So I ended up finally getting moved to the outside, enjoyed my time there. And then once I transferred to Cal Poly, I didn't play slot very much at all. It was more like matchup times where I would go to the slot, but I pretty much stayed outside, which was a huge difference for me, going from back and forth to then mainly staying at one spot. And then just in offensive concepts, I'd just say Fresno State just probably had more, deep field, downfield concepts. We did have downfield concepts, but just the way our offense was designed, we were more so intermediate, quick game, and my ability to, break tackles and kind of turn a 4 yard play into 16 or 20 and possibly a score. We didn't always have like that urge to have to be downfield. Like we can chip at teams differently. Fresno State, there's just a lot of guys and a lot of guys that get the ball to, a lot of guys that can make the same plays that everybody else can make. Uh, that's really the only thing I would say. As far as actual play calling, I would say my play caller at Cal Poly both years were very much so more aggressive than I was at Fresno State. But Fresno State's offense taught me a lot. Game management situations that I didn't necessarily get into at Cal Poly. Full field concepts that now when I talk to NFL teams and they show me an install or something, like I immediately recognize the full field concept. So those are probably the similarities, the differences between the two offenses. Cal Poly obviously was spread. I mean, was obviously a triple option, and when we were transitioning the spread, so whatever problems you could think could come with that definitely came with that. But they're on the right track now, so I was happy that I was able to get in and do what I was able to do.
Well, cool. I mean, glad that you were a part of that transition. And so as you kind of chatted through all those things there, I was thinking, what is this guy's favorite route? And so I want you to answer that one for me.
Really, my favorite route would probably be from the right hand side, or let's say left hash, balls on the left hash in college at least. Left hash, right hand side, I'll probably be pro landmark in between the top of the numbers and the hash mark and running a post corner. A lot of teams feared my speed, so if anytime I get off coverage and they feel something downfield, they're running. So it makes it a really easy, nice gain. And I've got some film on running a post corner against different leverages where I was able to really break down and come back almost at an out route negative and then take some high. So I really enjoy post corners. I'm a
So
big dumb guy if I had the chance.
So, what do you feel separates you as a prospect? I mean, is it that speed? Is it your knowledge of the game? I mean, how would you answer that question? What do you feel separates you as an NFL prospect moving forward?
Yeah, no, I definitely say it's my speed. Obviously, you have a lot of guys that are fast, but my speed, my knowledge of the game, and what ends up coming up is I played defensive back at Fresno State in games. So I really very much so understand the leverage of what a corner is trying to do in order to keep him the most safest on the field, like, not giving up six. So I think that separates me. What a lot of people end up when they see me in person, I'm actually a lot thicker than what they kind of imagine. So when I was training in Denver for the most of that training period for about a month and a half, I was about 201 pounds, still doing everything that I was doing now, which was great. Most teams are only asking me to stay above 190, and it was kind of funny to me because my natural weight no longer is nothing under 190. So I think that's what separates me a lot. You got some guys that are my size, but they're about 15 to 20 pounds lighter than I am, and we're moving at about the same speed. And I would obviously say my twitch. I think I have a really good twitch. I have a really good change of direction when called for. I think that's what separates me.
Well, bro, if you get any stronger, any thicker, they may end up putting you at running back. I mean, I don't know how that's going to work, but I mean, it's certainly doable. I mean, bro, you're an athlete. I mean, well, I'm sure you'll be able to make that happen if someone does ask for that. But the other thing that I feel I do have to ask you though is like what's your approach or attitude to special teams? So give me your take on that.
I look at it like I'm a football player. I played a game of football. I chose the position receiver solely because I thought it was more fun, not because I couldn't do anything else. That's just me. So when we come down to special teams and we talk about how do you feel about special teams, it's football to me, and I want to play football. So at the end of the day, you want me to run down on punt or on kickoff, or you want me to return something, as long as I'm playing the game of football, I'm gonna try to do it as high as the level as possible, and I'm gonna have fun doing it. That's really what it boils down to. Like I think the reason why I love football so much is because I have so much fun doing it that it doesn't make it hard for me to want to go out and get better at something, or it doesn't make it hard for me to want to try something new on the field. Like I want to be as versatile as possible, and I fully understand. Smaller guy, smaller school, you make a name through special teams, and I'm totally fine with that. Like I've played special teams before. I've returned it. I went down and tried to tackle the returner. I don't think I lack in anything like that. So I'm more than willing to do that. Special teams is not a problem. It's just football to me.
I mean, I was just thinking here. I mean, obviously you have some experience as a defensive back. I mean, you could tackle. I mean, you can make a judo throw, so to speak. That would be interesting. I mean, I don't know if you have to restrain yourself for those kinds of moves on the football
Nah,
field. Like, I don't know if you're really truly allowed to do those things, but certainly fun to chit chat about. Chris, just kind of talking about you and your time at both of these institutions. Give me some of your own personal highlights. I mean, when you think about some of the games and plays that you were able to make, I mean, give me like one or two examples if you don't mind.
yeah. So probably my 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 most memorable play at Fresno State obviously is my first catch. You may have not have seen it, but just in my head, that's my first catch. It's my first time I'm in the game. It was actually kind of funny because I wasn't nervous. One, because we were kind of up, so it was like it's not really my fault if anything goes wrong. But two is like I was so ready to play that I was past excited. Like I was just ready. And so I ended up running the out route and making a really good play on the ball that come to find out my quarterback at that time was actually throwing it away. I just happened to jump so high to catch it because I was just so excited. Like I knew looking at the defense, like, yeah, this ball has to come to me. Uh, and then probably honestly, another very memorable play that I'll go to Cal Poly with is I actually got to throw the football. I 1 for 1 for about 42 yards.
Sweet.
And it was a dot. It was a dot. It was a reverse. I did everything that we were supposed to do. I took my time back there and let it go. And I just watched it go. And I was like, man, I kind of miss quarterback, but those days are gone. But it felt good to release the ball in game and have kind of a different adrenaline rush. Like, ooh, if I don't complete this, then it's all on me.
Well, hey, I mean, people got to remember, man, like you got that wrinkle in your game, that experience. So, I mean, you got to throw in those trick plays for you. That definitely is an awesome one there. I mean, I appreciate that. So, um, Chris, I mean, you put together a solid resume at both Fresno State and Cal Poly, and most recently, you were able to participate in a pro day. So, talk about that pro day experience for me, if you don't mind.
Man, well, first I want to give a huge shout out to Landau Performance and Coach Augie and Lauren Landau. They did a great job in the 3 months of getting us prepared for that. I literally felt at no point in time where I wasn't prepared for anything they were going to ask me to do or any drill that was going to come up. I enjoyed my day. I was out there having a lot of fun because it was finally time. 3 months. I had been in Denver since January 2nd. I got back March 16th. I finally get the chance, to put everything on film, put everything on paper, and I just had a ball. Like I just was out there having fun. I knew in my head from the different mock days that we had when I was back in Denver around what my number should get. So I was more so in a contest with myself, like, okay, I should jump about 10.5 on the broad, but let's just try to jump for more. Like I know what I should get, but let's just try to do a little bit better. And some things I ended up doing that, and some things I ended up doing kind of exactly what I had been training to do. So I just all in all had a great time. It was really fun to me.
Yeah, so for people that are listening, some of those numbers that you were able to put up, 44940, 36-inch vertical, 10.7 broad jump. So you beat your mark that you were trying to get to. And 15 reps on the bench, which is pretty good. So I mean, all those numbers, all in all, I mean, are certainly good. I mean, you did a great job there. I mean, do you have any opportunity to talk to some NFL scouts afterwards?
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I ended up well, not funny, but we ran some routes, got the field work in. Before I could even take my gloves off, I had about 15 plus scouts kind of all in front of me, and they're asking different questions like, why weren't you at any bowl game, and thinking in my head when they asked me that, it was like, well, that's kind of an odd question because like as far as I know, there's no like sign up sheet where you could sign up and get into a bowl game. Like I don't know who that falls under, but they were asking questions like that, and who's my agent, and that we'll be in contact, and asking me kind of different background information just as quickly as they could before they had to go wherever they had to go. And I ended up talking to Saywan, which is I believe the international scout or national scout for the Broncos, and he kind of congratulated me and he said, "Man, you did a great job. And if you didn't, none of those scouts would be standing in front of you, all trying to figure out now who you are." And that made me feel really good. And then he just kind of explained to me like, "Hey, stay ready because you're gonna get phone calls, you're gonna get messages and things." And my agent as well, and they both have been absolutely right. I've spoken to a couple teams, had a couple phone calls, had some Zooms with different teams. So it's a super exciting period right now. I'm just not nervous, but just kind of, like on the edge of being nervous, on the edge of just what's going to happen or what happens next. Because I have some friends that have been in this situation, but obviously everybody's road is a little bit different getting here. So I can only ask them so many things before it just gets to a point where you kind of just gonna have to wait and see what happens. Like this is kind of your get down now. So
Right. Well, I mean, you certainly opened up some eyes there at your pro day. I mean, at least half of the league you had mentioned, came up to you afterwards, and I'm sure all the league at this point is probably going back, watching your film, trying to see, hey, is this guy somebody that we can bring in? Is this guy a guy that we can maybe even draft? I mean, when you think about this whole thing, man, you being an NFL like prospect, I mean, what's going through your mind? I mean, this is your moment, man. Like this is like your dream. I mean, has it sunk in yet or what?
um yeah, it's definitely sunken in. Talking with my dad and my mom, this has always been the plan. Like this has always been what we've been shooting for. So obviously the sole fact that it's starting to come true is huge. Like I wake up in the morning like, man, I'm really very, very close to living the dream that I had told my dad at 10 years old, like, Dad, I want to go to the NFL. And he told me, okay, then we'll work, but I don't want to hear your mouth. You're going to have to work. And so when we get to this point now, some days are surreal if I talk to a coach or I'm on a Zoom, like those times are just like super exciting for me. But then other times, like as the emotions start to low down and I can actually think about what's going on, I'm just like, this is what I prayed for. This is what I've worked for. Um, I think at the end of the day, I very much so just deserve a shot. Like that's always what my dad and I have spoken about. Like, hey, you just want to get an opportunity to put cleats on and show what you can do. And at that point in time, if and when it doesn't go your way or it does go your way, then that was all that you were able to bring to the table, and you have to be okay with that. And just because I'm this close to it, and I may get the chance to actually put the cleats on and kind of show what I could do, I'm totally okay with how this is going, just because this is what I set out to do since I was 10 years old. So I try to go back to the high school that I went to, and to some other high schools, and just kind of give them a little bit of game, and just like you can't quit. You can't stop. There's nothing in your head, and there's nothing that's gonna be outside that's gonna tell you that you need to quit. Like, if you can keep going, if you have the financial means to keep going, because I very much understand I'm in this position because my parents are financially stable, and I was able to go to school for a little bit longer, instead of, I know some people that do have to go get a job right now, and have to put football to a side. So I try to tell them, if you're financially stable, and you can make a run at it, don't stop until somebody forces you to stop, or until you can no longer go further. Because there's obviously been times where football tests you, and it make you want to stop if things aren't going your way. And I'm so glad that I chose not to, and I chose to take a chance on myself and continue on. So
Well,
I'm just thankful.
yeah, I know. I get you. I mean, it's very exciting right now. I mean, and Cece, I do think that you are going to get that opportunity. I don't know which team, but I mean, I know that there's going to be at least one team that's going to want you to, come, you know, be in their training camp, and maybe hopefully open some eyes and get yourself on like a 53-man roster or something. I mean, that would be obviously the dream, right? But
Oh, yeah.
it's close, man. It's gonna be here before we know it. You're gonna figure that out within a month's time, easy. So as we close up this interview, just want to give you the floor one last time. Tell all them scouts about you, man, and why you would make a great addition to their team. So go ahead and hit them with that.
Man, to all the scouts listening, if any scouts are listening, I would make a great addition to the team. For one, I'm a team player. For two, I'm a ball player. I play the game. I'm not in it for the money. I'm not in it for, the hype or popularity you can get from it. I'm just in it because I want to play at the highest level I possibly can. And I just I feel like I could bring something to a football team that there's definitely other guys that could bring that to you. But I'm a guy who's sitting right in front of you that's just waiting for the chance. Like, I'm like a little firecracker waiting to be lit up. Like, I'm ready to play. I'm ready to do whatever I have to do. And just know, if you guys were to bring me in, you're bringing in a football player. I'm not a diva receiver, or I'm not a hard nosed defensive back. I'm a football player. Whatever you need me to do, that's what I'll do. Straight up.
Yeah, I mean, you could play a little bit all over. I mean, you could throw the ball as well as being, wide receiver and defensive back and anything else in between, some special teams. I mean, very reliable guy as a receiver. I mean, there's a lot that you can offer, man. So, I mean, someone's going to give you that opportunity, and just want to wish you all the best in your endeavors. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Once again, we got Chris Coleman, wide receiver, Cal Poly. Check this guy out.